If you're feeling burnt out, or you're suffering with nervous exhaustion, and you're getting to that place, or hopefully not getting to that place yet, but you could be getting to that place where you're just feeling like things are caving in, there's a fear going on inside of you, there's a bit of panic, there's a bit of struggle, maybe feeling a bit claustrophobic, like there's not enough space for you to breathe and enough space for you to be because of all the pressures, all the responsibilities, all the stuff you have to keep together. And you're a typical giver, you always serving others, you're thinking about others, you put others before yourself, you're out there to make a big difference in the world, and you really feel like you've got something to offer, and you have got something to offer, but you're in this place of struggle. Now, this is often a really quiet place. There's probably not many other people that really know how you're feeling, if anyone. And if that's you, I want to teach you how to love yourself, because it really does come down to that. Now, I listen to quite a lot of other speakers and teachers and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists talking about self-love. And what I'm noticing is that mostly it comes from a very analytical place, a very mental place. It's like there's these ideas that, I listened to one very well-known speaker this morning. She has a very prominent voice in our community about well-being and self-love. And one of the things she said that you can identify if you're not loving yourself is that you stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning watching Netflix and eating crisps in bed. And she said that's not love. And I'm like, really? Has that got anything to do with love? And I think it's a basic understanding of what love really is, and how when we really love ourselves, we treat ourselves in a certain way. We are able to meet ourselves in a certain way. And that certain way is with absolute presence. Because to me, love is a presence. It's not something that you can define with your mind. It's not something that you can say this behavior and that behavior, if you eat crisps in bed or whatever, is a not loving thing. It's much, much deeper than that. It's how you show up to be with the part of yourself that wants to stay up until 4 in the morning, that is perhaps avoiding something, that is perhaps feeling something that you can't connect with, you can't identify with, you don't want to feel, it's too scary to feel. And so you just cover it over. You do some kind of activity, you carry on with certain behaviours that are not necessarily that good for you, but you're not dropping into the place where you actually really need somebody to show up for you, someone to meet you. And that's what self-love is all about. It really is about just being there, showing up, and what that looks like. Now, you have all of the tools in the bag that you need to do this. You were born a loving being. You were born with this presence of love inside of you, and it's still there. And it's that presence of love that is beckoning you to meet with it, to not separate yourself from it, to be one with the love that you are. And that might sound really complicated or really existential, but it's actually incredibly practical. It's very real, it's very day to day, it's actually very normal. And you do a whole bunch of things all day long that enable you to show your love, demonstrate your love, feel your love for other people. But the thing is, chances are you're not doing it for yourself. And so that's why it's so important that I believe that you learn how to do this. I think it's so important that everyone learns how to do this, because just imagine what kind of world you would live in, and think of your own private personal world, your people, your family, your friends, your clients. Imagine what kind of world that would look like, where you're stepping in to your supreme power, your supreme presence of the love that you are. And bit by bit, reclaim yourself in that presence. Bring all of yourself home to that presence and be in it, as much as humanly possible. Without the pressure, without expectation, without the demands, without the judgment, without the shoulds, and allowing all of those things to melt. And there's a very specific way that you can do this. Now let me tell you, by the way, in a minute I'm going to talk about the reason people don't do this. But just before I do, I want to tell you that I've been helping people love themselves for about 20 years now. And my journey started because, guess what? I am one of those people wanted to go out there, help people, make a difference in the world, make the world better for my children, for myself. And I massively needed to love myself. That's how I've ended up becoming a teacher of this. And I've had to put so many things into practice that I was teaching but didn't even realize that I wasn't doing myself, because guess what? We all have blind spots, okay? It's completely normal. We're not absolutely perfect. We're never going to get everything absolutely right according to the judgment we have in our minds. But because of the things I've been able to recognize in myself, and therefore been able to recognize in all the healers, therapists and coaches, the helpers around me, I've noticed that there are 8 distinct habits that healers, coaches, therapists and well-being providers all struggle with. The 8 habits that we all really tangle ourselves up in, that limit us, that sabotage us from being that light in the world that we were born to be. And for this reason, I've created a 7-day self-love spa. It's called From Burnout to Blissed Out. And it massively gets in depth into those places that really need your attention, the places that hurt emotionally, physically, mentally, even spiritually, and help get you reconnected and in a place of love, empathy, compassion and connection with yourself. And it is so incredibly profoundly healing, and yet it's so simple. Now you can join this. It starts on Monday the 11th. It's for 7 days, and it's not for the whole 7 days. It's for 90 minutes or so every evening, UK time. So I want you to go and check that out. Please go and click the link below. Do something to help yourself, and that is just simply show up and be guided and be facilitated into a very blissful place with yourself, a very healing place, so that you can relieve the symptoms and get down to the very core reason of why these patterns keep happening in your life, because they are patterns. Burnout isn't something that happens once. It happens again and again and again. And sometimes it's extreme, and sometimes it's a lower level, a more manageable level. But still, there's that dissonance. There's still that disconnection from the self. There's still that sense of something's not quite right, but you soldier on anyway. Okay, so we're going to get down to the bottom of that very gently, very quickly, very easily, with a lot of love and compassion. It's not re-traumatizing. It's actually a huge relief, and it's going to be amazing. So I want you to please go and connect to that link. Click it below. Go and have a look. Sign up, join up, come and engage, come and participate, and have this amazing experience. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, that sounds really nice, Tara. But, and there always comes the but. Yeah, but I can't because. Yeah, but I would love to. That sounds nice, but. So just check in and recognize if you're listening to your own but right now. And keep listening anyway, because there is a major fear that not just you, but I think almost everybody that I've encountered in my many, many years of helping people with this and my own journey, is that everybody, pretty much everyone, is absolutely scared of going there, scared of loving themselves, terrified. And I think that's why so many of these other people that talk about self-love, not everyone, but most of them, I would say, are coming from a very heady place, because it's so much easier to analyze something from the surface. It's so much easier to give yourself a checklist and say, okay, well, do this rule and that rule and this rule and change that about yourself and be this better version of yourself and blah, blah. And it's all very heady. And in a way, it's a lot safer. It's manageable. It's kind of on a level that you're used to dealing with things with your head. However, you might notice that love really has very little to do with your head. It has everything to do with your heart, everything to do with how you feel. And I think a lot of people are very afraid to really face themselves, to face their true feelings, because so many have been buried. We're afraid of unburying those places where we haven't loved ourselves. And not only that, where we haven't been loved, or at least felt loved. There's a lot of those layers. It goes really, really deep. I would say that it's systemic in our cultures, in our societies, globally. It's not just located in one part of the world, it is everywhere. We live in a very traumatized world where people have experienced disconnection from their source, disconnection from their hearts, disconnection from truth for a very, very long time. And so it means that there are many layers in us where we've felt that disconnection, that loss of love, that lack of truth, that dissonance. But it's been so much kind of easier, quote unquote, to ignore it, to avoid it, just to keep going. Perhaps because you didn't have a solution. You certainly didn't have a solution when you were a child. You probably didn't have a solution when you were a teenager experiencing the world the way that you did. But the thing is, there is a solution now. And I'm offering you that opportunity to have that solution. Where I kick the ball for my doggy. Look where I am. It's such a beautiful day. This is a real opportunity. And it's not going to take a long time. It's not going to be difficult. We just imagine that it's going to be difficult. We imagine the worst. We get really isolated and trapped and disempowered by our fears. And I really want you to, like I've treated myself, I've had to recognize those fears, recognize the resistance in myself, and decide if that's loving or not. Is it loving to let myself keep repeating patterns once I've become aware of it? And even if I'm aware of it, if I keep allowing myself to keep making those same patterns, those same habits, those same disconnections, those same self-sabotaging behaviors, is that loving? Would you want your child to do that? Would you want your beloved, your best friend to do that? And so I'm really inviting you to make a choice right now. If you would be willing to love yourself enough, finally, to do something different, to do something you've never done before. And I promise you, unless you've worked with me before, you've done my method, or you've read my books, you probably haven't done this before. This is new. Even though it's simple and it's a no-brainer, it's actually very rare that people choose to have this level of connection with themselves in the way that I will facilitate you to have it, so that it's very real. There's no imagining, there's no visualization. It's real connection. It's very embodied. It's very somatic as well on that level. And yet it's way more than that as well. So I'm inviting you for this opportunity to come and join me and some other people just like you. If that helps you feel better, that you're not alone, it's not just you. There's many, many, many people going through these same patterns of self-disconnection and avoiding the self-love. But this is an opportunity for you to come and be facilitated in a very safe container where you're not going to be exposed. Your vulnerability is going to be seen by yourself and no one else. but yet you will feel completely held, safe, loved and protected, and not alone, because you're not. You're not really alone. We're all in this together, and I want to be able to show you a way that you can really transform not just your short-term symptoms that you're managing or dealing with or not managing and really struggling to deal with, pains in your body, problems with your anxiety, your mental well-being. I can help you transform that very quickly, actually, as much as you're willing to allow the process. And we can also get deeper down into the real reasons that causes this in the first place. Very typical of healers, givers, helpers, practitioners, consultants, therapists of some kind. It's so prevalent, and that also very gently and very easily can be met and healed and transformed. And I want to show you how, not just how, but take you through it, and then leave you with tools, very practical tools, very simple tools that you can use on yourself very quickly. It doesn't take a long time, on a daily basis, to help yourself feel more and more whole, more and more connected, more and more loved, more and more safe, and more like in this real world of you with what's really going on, and feel really, really empowered. So it starts on Monday. It's for 7 days, like I said, and it's called From Burnout to Blissed Out. Please come and join me. Click the link below, and I really can't wait to welcome you in and have this amazing journey with you, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. So much love.